Okay, so it's time to wrap up the week that was, and I'm so happy that I came to you guys and did a midweek review because, yeah, read a book then, and I've read another book since, and with everything else we need to do in this wrap up of this week, it just would have taken too long to get through. But let's re-go over that once again, just in case you missed. Excuse me. I'm starting to feel a little bit better, but my voice is still a bit comes and goes, really. Starting off with what I did say in my midweek vlog, in case you did not see it, that I started and finished my first adult horror, Stephen King's Pet Sematary. Now, in case you did miss that midweek vlog, I ended up giving this book 2 stars because it just didn't serve the purpose that I felt it was meant to, which was it's an adult horror, and it did not scare me at all. The plot was great. I enjoyed myself. I was invested in the characters, but for a horror, it just didn't work for me. It didn't scare me. It didn't disgust me. It wasn't horrific. Yeah, so I ended up giving it 2 stars. That's what I discussed in my midweek vlog, so let's move on. I then said that I had started this book, F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. I do apologize, excuse me. F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. And you know what happened? I got about 2 chapters in, or actually it was more than that. It was about 3 chapters in to this book. And you guys, something happened that has never happened to me before, but I actually fell asleep reading this book. And it wasn't because I was so interested in it that I just kept reading until I fell asleep because I loved the book so much. It was because it was just that boring. I literally fell asleep. But the thing is, I'm actually going to try and challenge myself this coming week, the week we're going to now, to re-pick up this book and read it again. And if I end up DNFing it a second time, it will be for good. This was going to be my very first DNF for the season of autumn. We're in autumn. Well, in America, you guys call it fall, but we call it autumn in Australia. So this would have been my first DNF for autumn, but I'm giving it another go next week and going to see if I can get any further into this book. And if not, it will become a permanent DNF. Now let's talk about The Well of Ascension. I am nowhere near as far into this book as I probably should be. I'm really taking my time with this book, which I already said, but the book I'm going to talk about after this one has kind of, show you the cover, has kind of kept me from getting any further in this book, and maybe tomorrow I'll read a lot more than I have so far. I'm up to page 48. It is a good read. I love this book, but I think having the mindset of not wanting to, read this book at too quick a pace and indeed trying to purposefully slow down so I can enjoy this book for the entire month, it kind of has me set back against my schedule. This book is more than 600 pages long, and we're already 7-8 days into March, so yeah, I really need to read a lot of this book to kind of, get to a point where I am at least going to be at a point where I can finish it by the end of the month and then get on to The Hero of Ages, the third book in the series, in April. And I have a lot of other... Oh, sorry, didn't mean to move the camera there. I have a lot of other amazing plans for April, and I can't wait to discuss with you what they are. And I also have amazing plans for May. So if you do have book recommendations for me, I am still taking them, but I'm now taking them for June because I'm kind of booked up for April and May at the moment. Can't wait to talk to you guys about that. That will come along soon. But the second book that I read in autumn, the second book that I've read in March is this one, The Night Watch by Sergei Lukyanenko. Now, this is an amazing story as to not only the book itself, but as to how I actually ended up receiving this book. So I was watching my favorite booktuber. I've spoken about her a few times on my channel, but not actually said who she is. There is going to be a time when I tell you who she is, but that won't be today. And she was doing an unboxing with some of the books that some subscribers had sent to her, and this book was part of that unboxing. She read the blurb And I found it very intriguing that by the time she got to the end of reading the blurb and said something along the lines of, "Sounds interesting, doesn't it?" My first thought was, yes, oh my god, I need this book to read it for myself. I was really happy for her that she'd received it, but I also wanted to read it as well. So she has not read this book yet, and I can't wait to hear her thoughts when she does read this book. But I'm really happy that I read it. I just finished this book today, in fact. It is another incredibly long book. I've read just under 1,000 words in the first week of March. This one is over 500, sorry. Yeah, this one's over 500 pages, so it's a tome. And Pet Sematary is just under 500 pages, so it's just under being a tome. And I've read around about 1,000 pages in a week. So that's pretty impressive for me. And that doesn't include what I did read in this book before I DNF'd it and then changed that category from DNF to shelve. But anyway, yeah, really enjoyed this book. I'm mindful of the fact that I don't put spoilers up in my reading vlogs. So basically what I can say about this book is that it is a book that is incredibly tough to describe the plot, and I'm considering whether or not I'm actually going to do a review on this book or not. Time will tell. If we don't have a review between now and my next end of week vlog anyway, then I won't do a review on this one, only because it's really hard to explain the plot. But I did love this book. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars unofficially, but on Goodreads, you can't give a 0.5 to a star rating system, or to their star rating system. So it went back to 3 stars for me. It was a great book. It certainly served its purpose. It is a book that is a fantasy book that definitely has magic systems. It is written by a Russian author that has then been translated into English, but it still reads to me like how I imagine a Russian book would read, in saying that I've never read a Russian book, but a lot of the things that I imagine to be culturally the way things are in Russia certainly came through, even though this is a fictional book, certainly came through in this book for me. So basically the book follows the protagonist Anton, or whose full name is actually Antoshka, which I love that name so much. I love the name Anton, but I love the name Antoshka. Antoshka is an other, and an other, for the sake of this book, is a being that is not human, a being that has magical powers. And all I'm going to say about this, which I already said when I did my midweek vlog and spoke about how I've received this from my library, is that others get the choice of whether or not to fight for good or evil. They can be night watchers, which has them as light beings, which is good beings, or they can be day watchers, which has them being dark beings and fighting for evil. So, it goes back and forth. But the Night Watch does revolve around Antoshka, who is a light being. Yeah, and it was a good book. One thing I did not like about this book, though, and I will say this here, is that it's another one of those books that has 3 books in the one novel, and I don't get why a novel, and I had this with The Magicians as well. I spoke about it last month. I don't get why novels have multiple books within them if it's the exact same story that you're reading. Really, all they need to do is open up the next chapter saying it was 6 months later, or 6 months later, this character was doing this. And yet instead they're making a really big hoo-ha about book 2. Like, really? It doesn't need to be book 2. It follows on, and it's still within the same novel. So I don't really like that about this book. Another thing I didn't like about this book is the fact that there are characters who refer to other characters by their full name, even when they're having the most casual of conversations, like when Antoshka, sorry, because I prefer to call him Antoshka, that's his full name. When Antoshka is talking to his boss, whose name is Boris something or other, I'm going to get his name and I'll be right back. Okay, so the boss's name is Boris Ignatievich, and anytime that Anton talks to him, he always calls him Boris Ignatievich, not Mr. Ignatievich, not just Boris, but Boris Ignatievich. And so it'll be simple things like, how's your day going, Boris Ignatievich? Would you like me to do this, Boris Ignatievich? Oh, how's that vodka, Boris Ignatievich? And it's not something that I'm used to, and it did throw me off for a lot of the book when it happened, because I'm just not used to that. I will be fine with Mr. Ignatievich or just Boris, but the full name, yeah. But anyway, it was a good book. I gave it 3 stars, or 3.5 as I said, but Goodreads, you can't do 0.5, so I rounded back to 3 stars because it's not amazing. It's not comparable to Helen Keller's Teacher or comparable to Mistborn, but it is a good book. One thing that is misleading, though, if you are thinking of reading this book, and I would definitely recommend it, if you like fantasy novels with magic systems, you will love it, because the magic system in this book is so very different, and I just love it. I won't say what occurs in this, but there is a treaty in this book. Oh my god, I love the treaty. It's so amazing. It's so different to anything I've ever seen when it comes to good versus evil. It's just really well done. But the problem I do have with this book is basically it says J.K. Rowling Russian style on the front there. And there are some who refer to this book as the adult Harry Potter, but I definitely disagree. Of all the books that I've read this year, I would say the closest book that I've read to an adult Harry Potter would be The Magicians. Now, I didn't necessarily like The Magicians, but it's set at a college with adults, and they do magic and all that kind of stuff. Magic occurs here, but there is no college, and it's definitely not Harry Potter-like to me at all, so I did find that to be misleading. But otherwise, I did like the book. I didn't absolutely love it. I wasn't obsessed with it, but I did like it. So definitely it deserved the 3 stars that it received, which is really interesting because I just came off reading Pet Sematary that I gave 2 stars prior to, I DNF'd The Great Gatsby, came off reading Pet Sematary that had 2 stars prior to The Great Gatsby, and then prior to Pet Sematary, I read a book that was 1 star, The Magicians, my only 1 star for this year so far. So reading was getting a little bit depressing for me, but this book certainly helped me bounce back. So I want to say a big thank you to Sergei Lukyanenko, because it actually was a good book. It was not 4 or 5 stars, but definitely a solid 3-star book. Really did enjoy it. Alright, so we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to quickly pause this, and then when we come back, it's going to be time to draw out the next 2 genres that I'm going to be that I'm going to be focusing on this week, including the classic F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. I am going to give that a second go. I'll talk about all that when we come back in just a moment. Okay, and we're back. Let's just quickly do a quick reminder of what is up to be drawn out. Before I do, actually, The Great Gatsby will be the second book that I read for this week, so I will read the first book that comes out of the drawing container first. Then I will try and reread this one. If I DNF it a second time, it'll be DNF for good, but it will not be the first book I read, it'll be the second one I read. So it should come up in my midweek vlog. I should be discussing this. So you should know by then, but if you don't, you'll definitely know by next week if I got through this or if I DNF'd it. But the other books on offer that are options for me to potentially be reading this week are East by Edith Patel, and this is a YA fairy tale fantasy, so that's one of them. Oh, keep knocking the camera, I'm so sorry. Heroes of Olympus, The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. This is a YA fantasy. It's the only fantasy I have in my TBR that is not one of the bookends, so it's not Mistborn and it's not Vampire Academy. I don't want to have the camera shake again. My contemporary, which is Pool Boy by Michael Simmons. I'm so sorry. And this will be the only... No. Yes. This will be the only contemporary that I will have read so far this year, because I thought Helen Keller's Teacher was a contemporary, but it's not. It is a biography. So this will be the first contemporary if it's drawn out. Goosebumps, because it is a middle grade horror, and I thought that this would be drawn out prior to Pet Sematary, but still it's a short read, and right now, after reading a tome and a book that was incredibly close to a tome, I'm happy to read a couple of short books at the moment. And Now, do you guys remember how I told you, with all intents and purposes, I picked out what I thought was a science fiction, a sci-fi book, but it ended up being a thriller and it really disappointed me? Well, guess what? I found a sci-fi. I'm very happy that I did. It is a YA sci-fi, but it's a sci-fi nonetheless, and it is called Bot Wars. So this one I did not have last week when I was showing you guys the sci-fi that was not a sci-fi. The bookmark here says thriller because thriller is what is in here. So if thriller comes out, it will mean sci-fi. It will mean Bot Wars. So let's get right into this. I'm just going to put these books over here so the video stops shaking. Stop shaking, and let's draw out the next book that I'm going to read, because now that I've finished off the Night Watch, this will be the very next book that I do pick up. Let's see which one it's going to be. Hey, angels, talk to me. This one. The angels have spoken. It is the sci-fi thriller! Yay! So clearly not a thriller, but the next book I am going to be reading is Bot Wars by J.V. Cade. So really looking forward to this. I am going to finally read a sci-fi. I've never read a sci-fi. I've never watched Star Wars. I've never watched Stargate. I don't watch sci-fi. So this is a completely new genre for me, and I'm probably way too excited for something I've never read or never watched, but really excited to expand my horizons and read a sci-fi. Alright, so after Bot Wars will be The Great Gatsby, and then after The Great Gatsby... Where are we going, angels? That one. Oh, fairy tale fantasy! Yay! It's East! Oh, excellent. So it's East by Edith Patel. Now, this is really interesting because the two really short books that I could have chosen, they still haven't come out yet, so... Which is the Goosebumps book and the Contemporary. So they still haven't been chosen yet. Again, we're getting the long books for the beginning of March, but that's okay. So this is really interesting because my favourite booktuber, the one who had the Night Watch when she was doing her unboxing, same booktuber, my favourite of all time, she spoke about this in one of her reading vlogs, and it sounded really amazing. This book is based off of a Norwegian fairy tale, and I've read the Norwegian fairy tale and it sounded absolutely amazing. This book expands on that and makes it a YA fairy tale fantasy book rather than just a fairy tale on its own. So I'm really excited to read this, and yay, I'm very happy with what I'm reading this week. This is really cool. I'm probably getting a bit too excited here, but that's okay. You know what? It's totally fine to get excited about reading. Yee. Yeah, I work in a store where it's a multi kind of purpose store. We sell many different things, but I work in the book department, and anytime we get a shipment of books that come in, this is how excited I get. I'm like, oh my god, books! So I just get really excited. So this has made me very, very, very happy. So we have, again, my sci-fi, which is Bot Wars by J.V. Cade. That will be the very first book I read this week. Probably started tonight. I'm that excited. Then I will give F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby one more go. If it gets DNF'd again, it gets DNF'd for life. That will be it. It will be done. But it gets one more go. And that's only thanks to friends of mine who are saying, it starts off slow, but it's really good towards the middle, which is fine, so I'll give it another go. But if it doesn't work for me, I will proudly DNF it, and it will come up in my autumn/fall DNF, seasonal DNFs at the end of autumn, but we'll see how we go. And then my third book for this month is East, the YA fairy tale fantasy by Edith Patel, which I'm really excited about. All of these, and of course, where is... Oh, gosh. Oh, it's right there. Just a moment. Okay, sorry about that. I was just trying to find Well of Ascension, because of course this is also on my TBR. Look, I can only go off page count with this, but I'm hoping, let's say, at least to be 200 pages in by the time we talk at the end of next week. If I can get to the halfway mark, so I'll do another midweek vlog. If when I do the midweek vlog, I am at least 100, somewhere between 100 and 150 pages into this book, I'll be really happy. If I'm not, then I'll feel like I'm really far behind. But I have a lot of books to read. I just want to see if East is a tome. And that's hilarious because it's literally just not a tome. It's 494 pages, so it might as well be a tome. Like, come on, Edith Patel, couldn't you have written 6 more pages? So this is another extremely long book, but it's YA. This is a 600 plus page book. This one is really short. Even though I DNF'd it, it is still very short. It's, yeah, 170 odd pages worth. And Bot Wars is definitely YA, if not middle grade. Just looking at the size of the font, it's really big. So I have the feeling I'll be getting through this really quickly. Okay, this one is 356 pages, so definitely not a tome. So we'll see how we go. So let's do that one more time, shall we? Well of Ascension, I'm going to try to get to somewhere between 150 to 200 by midweek, 200 by the end of the week. Bot Wars, my first official book that I'm trying to get through this week, which is my first sci-fi ever, so excited about that. F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, and East by Edith Patel. So, I hope that you guys have had an amazing week this week. I want to give a shout out to all the lovely people that I've met over on a Facebook group that I have become very welcomed to. So that is, their group name is called Passion for Books. You guys are absolutely amazing. We've been talking about our TBRs and where we're up to with things we're reading and how we're feeling about it and all that kind of stuff, and it's just been really amazing. So a big shout out to all of my Passion for Books friends, hi. And a shout out to my favorite booktuber who I still have not mentioned, but yes, thank you for all that you do. She received a commemorative plaque this week for excellence, and I just want to say very well deserved to her. So I don't know if she watches my channel or not, probably not, but if you do, well done. Very, very happy for you. Alright, I'm going to leave that there and let you guys go. Peace, blessings, and so much love. Mwah. Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading. I'll see you at the midweek vlog. And yeah, I may get to the review of that book that I was reading, The Night Watch. I might do a review of The Night Watch. We'll see how we go. Yeah, so if I don't get upset with me. I'll try my best. I just have to work out if it's something that I actually feel like I can do a review on or not. And if I can, I will do it. If I can't, I can't. But otherwise, I will see you on Wednesday. I don't normally say this, but I will from now on. I post videos every Wednesday and Saturday outside of reviews with vlogs, so I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Till then, bye guys, thanks again, happy reading, bye.